So thank you all for coming on this very steamy night. Here, our superintendent, Kathleen Murphy, of course, she's here. And we have our facilities director, Matt Cashman, is also here. And then we have in the back our building task force, a group of teachers dedicated from Rundlett Middle School. And they've been having visioning sessions with the architects. And we also did a tour of a school down in Massachusetts to just get some ideas. So we're in the very beginning of this process. And so I think I'll just turn it right over to Laura and Danielle. Would you like to?
Sure. My name is Danielle Smith. I am a member of the Concord School Board. I am also the chair of the Capital Facilities Committee. And we just wanted to say thank you to everybody for coming today. We're really excited, I know on the school board, to sort of get this ball re-rolling again. As somebody who went to kindergarten here all the way up through my senior year of high school, just being a citizen of this community, I'm already excited about it. And then selfishly, I have a 6th grader, a 3rd grader, and a 1-year-old. So I am really, really looking forward to hopefully my 3rd grader stepping foot in a new building. Might be wishful thinking, definitely the baby, I hope. Even though my 6th grader has been remote for most of this year, even he has suffered from some of the challenges of going to school in a pretty antiquated building. Even through the computer, some of the technology issues that he's had. If you imagine trying to do school remote from a building that was built in the 1950s, there's definitely been some challenges there. So it makes me excited to think about how schools will change over the next generation and how technology can really grow with those kids and what that might look like in a brand new building. So I'm really excited to be a part of this project, and I'm really thankful for you to be here and bring us some expertise. We're going to be having a quick little presentation by HMFH architects. As Paulette said, we're going to be able to go on a tour, sort of a backstage pass to the school, and then come back and offer some input from you and some questions and answers. So thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Laura Wernick, and I'm here with 2 of my colleagues this evening, Holly Miller and Chad Montrose. Holly works with me at HMFH Architects, and Chad is with RFS Engineering. And we've been actually involved with this project for many years. And I'm going to give you a little bit of context and then bring you up to where we are now. Just to reiterate what Danielle said, I'm going to talk briefly. There's a big handout here that has much more detail about what I'm going to be talking about briefly. We're going to go on tours, and then we're going to come back, because part of this process is getting input from you and getting your thoughts, your questions. So this is the first of many opportunities for community engagement, but that's really a critical component. So this is us. A little bit of history. As Danielle said, it was built in 1957. It served the community well. It is an old building. It no longer is suitable for how teaching and learning takes place. This is just a history of this entire process. There's been a lot of process to date. We were originally hired in 2017. We did a feasibility study at this point, and then early this year, we, HMFH Architects, was asked to come back, look carefully again at what we had done before, and start to incorporate some new thoughts. So the goals of our current feasibility study, what we're working on right now, is this list right here. The items in yellow are the ones we're really going to be talking about this evening. But we're going to be looking at grade configuration, what the educational program should be, partnerships, existing building analysis, site analysis, this community outreach, and then sustainability. In 2017, we had a really strong, what we call visioning program, involving community members and educators and administrators. And I think we came up with a lot of good ideas, but that was a long 4 years ago, and a lot has transpired in the last 4 years. So we wanted to do an update on that, specifically looking at, has teaching changed? What was the impact of COVID on teaching and learning? It's impacted all of the students. It's given educators some new thoughts on how best to engage students in some new ways of thinking about things. So we wanted to capture that and integrate that into the earlier work before moving forward. Some of the ideas that we're dealing with, we're going to have another meeting with this group of teachers on Thursday to try and begin to summarize the goals that we've been talking about, trying to establish some aspirational goals for what a new middle school in Concord really might be. So this is kind of a midway point in that process to think about what is the best middle school we can design and what are the goals for that middle school. Very important in here, this school has a very strong team-based collaborative approach to teaching and learning, and that collaborative approach really is, all the teachers want to make sure that gets carried forward, and we want to design a school that really reinforces that. Another big idea is engaging the community. The middle school really, they want the middle school to be a strong part of this community. So that involves you and getting your input, so we can do that. We've been looking at the existing conditions. You're going to be taking a tour, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is just an overview, and this, again, is all in the packet. We looked at all of these different items, and as you can see, the school is tired and in some cases in poor condition. For instance, and I think this, to my mind, is very key, that business of the collaborative teaching, it really can't take place in this building. Teachers are dispersed, the science classrooms are in their own area. It's hard to build those teams and really work collaboratively together. They're long corridors, travel time is very long. The corridors are narrow, so kids are always bumping into one another. And the idea of renovating a building like this is very complex to undertake. You don't have any swing space, so it would be a phased renovation that would have to take place over 4 or 5 years. Which would be, if you can think of your student being moved in and out of classrooms and modulars over 4 or 5 years, how detrimental that might be to their education. Security. Finding the front door is an issue. And we don't have a strong, secure front entrance. There are a number of issues having to do with security. Accessibility. There are doors that there are doors that don't have appropriate push and pull width to them, so it's hard for them to be used by an individual in a wheelchair. There are exterior doors that enter out onto steps, so not an ideal place from an accessibility point of view. Again, code compliance issues. Those doors swing into the corridor and make it hard to pass. These are code issues. The exterior envelope. You can hear it right now, the rain. You shouldn't be able to hear that when you're in a classroom. The exterior envelope was built at a time where they were trying to do things very inexpensively, and it really, the way the brick was constructed on the frame was not what we know now to be the best way. So the building would have to be pretty much stripped of its brick and resheathed. Expensive undertaking. Wind loads and snow loads are not up to current code, so the structure would have to be reinforced. Mechanical equipment, there's not room inside the building to run ductwork. So a lot of the ductwork is up on the roof, where it is subject to weather and deteriorates very rapidly, and is not as energy efficient as it should be. You might have noticed we don't have good cooling in here. Probably none of you noticed that. But that's hard to teach in hot spaces that are not cooled appropriately. The electrical systems are old, they're tired. If you're doing renovations and start touching them, you'd really end up replacing most of them. Plumbing and fire protection, it's the same thing. They're operable, but once you start trying to cut and move and shift, then you're starting to really need to replace your systems. The idea of, for instance, new sinks or new toilets means cutting through existing concrete floors. It's a very intensive and expensive process. Interior finishes, I'm sure as you walk through the building, you may have already noticed just coming in, a lot of the interior finishes really should be replaced. And the site, this is a very heavily utilized site, and it's really, I have to say, it's an opportunity for hazards to take place. In addition, the paving needs to be renovated, replaced, and the site really could be refurbished. So from all of this, just as a summary, the physical conditions are very challenging, and a renovation would be very disruptive. The layout does not support the educational goals that assure the best type of teaching and learning takes place. It's not the way a modern school, middle school should be laid out to support teaching and learning. Are very preliminary, these are just kind of preliminary square footage figures, would indicate that because of the intensity of the work that needs to be done at this existing school, and because of the phasing, the modulars and the phasing that would take place over time, that renovating this building, and you'd have to both add and renovate it, would be about as expensive as building an all-new school. So I think that says a lot, that if you want a building that really supports the learning, do you want to invest in a building, in renovating this, or do you want to try and go for a new school? So this is just to say, these are the kinds of things our study is looking at to make sure that we're giving you the information that you need so that the community can make the right decisions.